While the James Bond series is synonymous with action-packed espionage and international intrigue, the films also offer an array of spooky, tense and horror-adjacent set pieces. The franchise creates its unique brand of chills through atmospheric graveyard rituals, psychotic villains, terrifying settings, and sequences that flirt with the supernatural. Just perfect for a Halloween watch. Few Bond films embrace horror ambience as fully as Live and Let Die, with its Caribbean settings infused with elements of Haitian voodoo. Early in the film, the audience observes a voodoo ceremony in a graveyard, complete with masked dancers, drumming, flames, and sacrifice. The scene delivers a palpable sense of dread through shadowy figures and constant reminders of dark magic, making it one of the series' most direct homages to occult horror. The ritual is not just visual. The sense of otherness is heightened by the blend of local beliefs, manipulated by the villain Kananga and his associate Baron Samedi. Death, mysticism, and the threat of the supernatural underscore the entire film, positioning it as an ideal Halloween watch. Baron Samedi, both voodoo god and eerie henchman, is an unforgettable Bond figure. Portrayed with maniacal laughter, a skull-painted face, and the iconic top hat, this character straddles the line between human and spirit, haunting Kananga's graveyard rituals and reappearing at the film's end, laughing from atop a speeding train. This resurrection plays to the mythic notion that Samedi cannot die, leaving viewers unsettled, and is essentially a Bond version of the classic horror villain who won't stay dead. Baron Samedi's appearances, sometimes theatrical, sometimes overtly supernatural, are accompanied by an air of immortality and ambiguous allegiance. He seems to operate with his own mysterious agenda, adding genuine spookiness that stands apart from Bond's usual adversaries. The psychic solitaire, tasked with reading tarot cards for Kananga, further amplifies the supernatural overtones. Her readings are treated as fate-altering rituals, a motif that recurs, using the occult imagery of the lovers, death, and fortune to build a foreboding sense of destiny guiding Bond's path. When Bond manipulates the deck to seduce her, the scene turns both mystical and psychological, reinforcing the film's eerie undertones. Live and Let Die taps into collective fears of the unknown and sinister magic, using voodoo iconography, much of it, as scholars note, drawn more from horror mythology than authentic practice. The opening of Spectre is a modern Bond highlight for Halloween. Set during Mexico City's Dia de los Muertos, the scene overflows with skull masks, ornate costumes, giant skeleton puppets, and parades that transform the city into a carnival of death. Bond, clad in a skeleton suit, stalks his quarry through crowded, eerie streets, culminating in a deadly chase and building explosion above the festival crowd. The sequence is both a visual and thematic celebration of death, underscored by the opening title card, "The Dead Are Alive." The haunting, beautiful depiction of a real-life festival is made even more macabre as the fictional parade Bond navigates became a real annual tradition in Mexico City after the film's release. This sequence distills everything Halloween embodies: costumes, the thin veil between the living and the dead, communal fascination with mortality, while pairing it with heart-pounding Bond suspense. Sean Connery's Bond is at his most vulnerable in this iconic, spine-chilling moment. Sent to kill Bond, an assassin places a tarantula in his bed, leading to a tense, protracted scene where the spider inches across Bond's arm. The camera lingers, capturing Bond's true fear, mirrored by the genuine arachnophobia of Connery himself, who refused to let the spider touch his skin, so a stuntman filled in for the key shots. The psychological horror is amplified by the audience's own primal fear of spiders, sustained suspense, and Bond's silent desperation, culminating in a frantic, cathartic smashing of the spider. Universal fear, real danger, and the close-up exposure of Bond's own terrors make this a perfect addition to a scare-filled 007 marathon. A work of graphic horror, this scene from License to Kill shocked Bond audiences with uncommon gore. When Bond frames Milton Crest for betrayal, drug lord Sanchez traps Crest inside a decompression chamber. Crest's head grotesquely inflates and bursts, sending blood spraying across the chamber window. It's a blend of slasher film and black comedy, and, unlike most Bond deaths, is played for genuine disgust, not light entertainment. The explicit body horror recalls the best or worst of 1980s R-rated splatter flicks, making it a rare, jaw-dropping piece of Bond horror. With Daniel Craig's last Bond film, the tone darkens into outright horror for the pre-title sequence. A masked assassin, Lucifer Safin, invades the childhood home of Madeline Swan, kills her mother in cold blood, and chases young Madeline across a snowbound landscape. Madeline flees onto a frozen lake, and when the ice breaks and she falls beneath the surface, Safin first seems to leave her for dead, then smashes the ice to rescue her. This extended opening is filmed with clinical detachment, cribbing from home invasion and final girl tropes of modern horror. The villain's mask, the snowy silence, and the sense of safety shattered set the stage for a psychologically tense, visually stunning sequence. The masked, near-supernatural killer and the icy, isolated setting create a chilling, horror-adjacent environment that would fit in any modern genre movie. Christopher Lee's Francisco Scaramanga, the world's deadliest assassin, lives on an island lair that includes a booby-trapped funhouse filled with deadly games. Its disorienting maze of mirrors, bizarre projections, and mechanical mannequins, one even made in Bond's likeness, lure both Bond and Scaramanga's rivals into a psychological duel. Inside, Bond must differentiate reality from illusion, his senses assaulted by distorting reflections and quick-moving shadows. The tension is similar to haunted house horror or slasher films, in which the hero is stalked and must survive by cunning alone. The Funhouse's nightmarish contradiction of playfulness and lethal intent taps directly into the spirit of Halloween, combining jump scares and mind games. Octopussy opens on a surprisingly somber note. MI6 agent 009, mortally wounded and dressed as a clown, staggers through the woods to the British ambassador's residence, clutching a Fabergé egg and dying at the moment he delivers his warning. The juxtaposition of the clown costume, often source of both childhood delight and deep-rooted fear, with the horror thriller chase and murder, creates a jarring, unsettling mood. The clown motif returns again later in the film, but the atmospheric tension in the opening is never eclipsed. The killer clown is a perennial horror trope, and Octopussy's opening laces it with true desperation and dread, a chilling inversion of the circus. In GoldenEye, Bond pursues the mysterious villain Janos, only to discover that his friend and fellow agent Alec Trevelyan, presumed dead, is alive and now his nemesis. The Back from the Dead reveal takes place in a desolate graveyard of fallen Soviet statues, at night and shrouded in fog. Everything from the derelict cemetery of toppled heroes to Trevelyan's emergence from the shadows evokes not just loss, but the horror motif of betrayal and resurrection. For Bond and the audience, it's less reunion than haunting. The setting is classic Gothic, the theme pure horror. Friends who return from the grave are never what they seem. The Spy Who Loved Me introduced Jaws, the towering, steel-toothed henchman whose very presence evokes monster movie menace. In one memorably spooky moment, Bond girl Anya Amasova is checking a cupboard, and along with the audience is stunned as Jaws leaps into the room, attacking violently. Even some cast members at the premiere reportedly jumped from their seats. Jaws' almost supernatural resilience and monstrous bite mark him as a human embodiment of the slasher villain, and memorably, he keeps returning long after an ordinary henchman would have been dispatched. Crafted like a haunted house set piece, the scene is a textbook example of a horror-style jump scare. Few Bond villains are as frightening as Raoul Silva. In a pivotal scene, Silva explains how he tried to bite a cyanide capsule during his MI6 imprisonment. He then removes a dental plate, revealing a sunken cheek, warped teeth, and a horrifyingly misshapen jaw. The moment is more body horror than espionage, shocking in its makeup effects and the coldness with which Silva wields his own injuries as psychological weapons. Horror is emphasized by a sense of the uncanny. Silva, like a monster or ghoul, is both tragic and utterly menacing. The grotesque face reveals, haunted past, and mad motivations are straight out of the villain gallery of classic horror. James Bond is rarely the first name suggested for a night of spooky movie watching. And yet, from Caribbean voodoo to European graveyards, clowns, spiders, and indestructible henchmen, the 007 franchise is a rich and underappreciated source of Halloween thrills. Bond's world is one where death lurks beneath the surface, sometimes literal, sometimes metaphoric, and where the supernatural, the sadistic, and the surreal collide. So, for a truly shaken and stirred Halloween, even 007 delivers the tricks and the treats.